Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's video? We have for you this clip. Now, this is a doozy of a clip. And it just amazes me how America and the West, to be fair, and bearing in mind, if you're a regular viewer, you know I love the United States, but I'm just saying that the culture war seems to be hottest the most in America right now. This woman and her family, including her 3-year-old child, was kicked off of a flight, an aeroplane, by the captain. Not because her 3-year-old did take off her mask, but because the captain was concerned that he might. Now, have you heard of the concept of a thought crime? That was once just something we got in the likes of George Orwell's 1984, but because the woke left and the Democrats, for that matter, have taken George Orwell's 1984, which was meant to be fiction, and they've used it for their Bible of their new woke religion, the concept of a thought crime has become real. Now, what you're about to see is even worse, because this isn't just like a thought crime of arson or burglary or something like that. This is a family being kicked off of the flight because the captain was concerned that her 3-year-old child might commit a Rona crime, okay, by taking off his mask. So this isn't just a thought crime, this is a COVID thought crime. That's the level we are at now, where you can be punished for, quote, committing, end quote, a COVID thought crime. And only that, your children can. And then you will be punished for the COVID thought crime your child committed. Insane that there are people who lack the humility, the common sense, the foresight to see this. And they're plane captains as well, captains of aircraft. Anyway, look, let's get into this clip. If you haven't yet, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel either on YouTube or BitChute. We are on both, but if you are on YouTube, there's a notification bell down below. But either way, share this around social media, the normies, friends, and that lot. Let's get this seen. This channel is shadow banned, and we are reduced, as YouTube management like to refer to it. So it's hard for us to grow or be seen or whatnot. So I would appreciate it if you did share this around. Anyway, look, let's get into this video.
Video showing the peaceful moments before a Colorado family and their 3-year-old son were kicked off of a Southwest flight. The family says they were booted at the captain's request over fears that their son might take off his mask due to a sensory disorder. Here to explain what happened is the Colorado mother who is sitting right there next to her son, Caroline Scott. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Tell us what happened.
So we were taking a trip to go visit my 94-year-old grandmother for the first time in almost 2 years because of COVID. We were super excited. I called the airline ahead of time because my son has something called sensory processing disorder, which is something that he feels sensations more intensely than others would. So, for example, sight, touch, things like that. So wearing a mask for Orion is challenging, but he can do it. He's been working really hard with his occupational therapist, with his doctors, with us as his parents. And so I had called the airline ahead of time just to let them know that my son had sensory processing disorder and that we didn't need an exemption. He can wear his mask and he will, but that if he had any frustration or difficulties, that we as his parents had the tools and skills that we needed to help him to cope with that.
So keep in mind, as this video clip goes on, this is the parents not just trying to meet the airline halfway. They have gone way past the halfway mark. They have gone out of their way. For anyone that live busy lives, these are normal people who are having needless troubles put onto their shoulders for them to deal with, okay? And that's not just this family, that's all ordinary people. We are having to change our lives in a way that goes against the science. You'll often hear the Democrats or the woke left, they use this phrase, the science. Of course, they completely forget the science. The science completely goes flying out of the window when it suits them. This child is no threat to anyone. How do we know that? The science tells us so.
To keep his mask on. So when we got to the airport, South West Airlines had told us when I called them ahead of time that there would be no issue and that they would just add that information to his ticket. So that was a totally different story when we got to the gate. When we got to the gate and to get a stroller tag, the gate agent noticed a note on his ticket and said, "We need to get a supervisor to approve you all to fly today," which was confusing because Southwest had told me that there wouldn't be an issue. So the supervisor arrived and walked us down to the plane where we were met by the co-pilot, who was super nice and friendly. He gave my son a little set of wings and said, "You can keep your mask on, right, buddy?" And my son said, "Yep," and showed him his Spider-Man mask. Then the captain arrived. The captain walked right past us into the cockpit, and the supervisor went over there to talk to him, and he was not explaining things correctly. He said something to the pilot of, this kid has some kind of facial issue where he might not keep his mask on.
Oh my gosh.
And I tried to interject.
Oh my God. Listen, I've been in a situation like that before. This is people who just don't care, right? They just don't care. She described it as a sensory issue. The supervisor goes over there and deliberately, in my opinion, because they just don't care, they said he's got a face issue. How do you go from sensory to face? I think that is the this bias that they seem to have, this prejudice that they seem to have, that they take sensory and then change it to face to suit them, to suit themselves. I've been in a situation like that where you explain something to someone, you want to talk to whoever it is, but in their case, it's the captain of the plane. You want to talk to them yourself, but instead you have to talk to a middleman, which in this case is a supervisor. And then the supervisor walks, you're still within earshot, so you can hear them, whereas you just wanted to go and talk to that person yourself, but you can't, you have to have the middleman do it. And then they completely explain the situation that you told them completely differently. They change things, they forget things, they add things that you didn't say, and it's infuriating. And you can't go over there and say, hold on, that's not wrong, because then they come down on you like a ton of bricks. It's astounding to think that this is a private company. Really.
I tried to tell them that's not the situation. Right. He can keep his mask on. I have doctor's notes, a occupational therapist note, supporting us. But they wouldn't listen to me. They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't look at the notes. So we were walked off of the jetway. The supervisor then said, "Can you 100% guarantee that your son will keep his mask on?" And we said yes, and he can do it with our support. So
look at how scared these people are. I don't mean the family. They're ordinary people. They live in the real world. I mean this pilot, the captain of the plane. How frightened he is of a 3-year-old. Being in their presence. This is the damage that has been done to society. So for those of you who like to point at us and call us COVIDians, because you're insecure about every other human being on the planet or going literally within 6 feet of them, I hope you're proud of yourself. I hope you're proud of yourself because you have engineered situations like this where families get kicked off of a plane because the arsehole captain is worried that a 3-year-old child, which by the way, as I said, the science tells us are no risk to anyone. Children are of no risk to anyone. But still, they get kicked off because the captain is concerned that a 3-year-old will commit a COVID thought crime. He hasn't even committed a Rona crime, but the family are kicked off because he might. That's the same as rounding everyone up. For example, lost people who have drug addictions and so on and so on. It's like rounding everyone up who has an addiction. And I used to have an addiction, by the way, but that's beside the point. But imagine rounding everyone up and saying, well, we're going to put you in prison because you might go and burgle someone. You understand what I mean? We'd be outraged then. Where's the outrage here? This is a child, and worse, this is a Rona thought crime. How despicable can you get? I wonder if that captain's got kids. I wonder if his family were treated like that, how he would feel.
Then the trip was back on. We were excited. We get back on the plane. My son buckled his own seatbelt. Mask was on. No issues of any kind.
Okay.
And you could see the captain in the cockpit, and he was saying, "I will not make any exemptions. The rules are the rules." And so we're sitting in our seats. Then we get paged overhead, and it said that our family needed to press the call button.
Yeah, but the rules are if your kid can keep a mask on, which your son was doing, then he can fly on the plane.
Exactly.
So he
Thank you.
never even took his mask off. You know what? This is just one of those stories. It depends on who you talk to on the phone. Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they say no. You can call back and get someone who's nicer the next time with any company. But you were just trying to be honest, and it backfired on you. You told them extra information.
Well, we were discriminated against. And so the supervisor in front of a plane full of people said, "I'm sorry, your family needs to get off the plane. The captain does not feel comfortable with your family on it today."
Despicable. That captain is despicable. And as for all of the other lemmings sitting in the cabin, the time's coming where you need to start standing up and speaking out. And saying, no, do you know what? You're going to kick a family off because a 3-year-old might, at some point, lower his mask. What do you think's going to happen? It's all just loads of Rona bugs are going to go. What about people's hands? How many people are on that plane touching things with their hands? They touch their mask with their hands. How many times are they going to readjust their mask? Speaking about this to them is you're talking to a brick wall. Worse, you're talking to an aggressive, pig-headed brick wall. When you're talking to them, nothing you say would get into them. Nothing at all. You try to reason with them about people touching their masks and stuff like that. Adults. You try to reason with them about this thing they call the science. Say that children are of no threat to anyone. You're talking to an aggressive, pig-headed brick wall. They will not listen. The more you try and talk to people like this captain, the further they dig their heels in. You understand what I mean? I'm sure you've met people like that. Leftist type people who, the more you try to reason with them, the more sense you talk, the more they dig their heels in. And the more aggressive they become. And you know why they become aggressive? Because you're making sense. They're just relying on a narrative. They're relying on pig-headedness. And when you speak sense to these people and you reason with them and your argument gains weight, the more weight it gains, the more aggressive these people become. Because they don't like it.
My goodness.
And we were deplaned not for our behaviors, but for disclosing my son's disability, which is discrimination.
Yes, and it's so stressful anyway to fly before COVID. Now you have to worry about the mask thing. We're all so scared to say anything on these planes because if you're not super nice or you don't just stay quiet, I feel like they're going to throw us off. So
yeah, because that's society now. It's not just on planes, it's anywhere. You're not allowed to do anything or say anything anytime, anywhere, because there's one of these authoritarians on every doorstep, on every corner, on every bench, in every store, on every aeroplane. They're everywhere. You dare to speak out of line, you dare not comply, bam, they're on you. And then the mob forms, which coincidentally sounds awfully like a component of the book 1984. What a surprise there. You comply or you die. That seems to be where we're heading.
So it's just so stressful anyway. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Did you ever hear a response from the airline?
So Southwest has sent me a blanketed statement of a specialist will be in touch within 30 days, but that's been it. And, families are going to be traveling this summer.
I bet no specialist will be in touch with you. They're hoping you'll just forget it. I hope that you and your family sues. You have providing that the justice system actually works, or the legal system, you have a clear-cut case of discrimination on medical grounds. He never, even if it was like halfway through the flight and you was actually on the flight and your child lowered the mask and then at the end you was kicked off or whatnot, you would still be eligible to sue him, right? To sue the captain of the airlines, Southern Airlines, right? Southwest, sorry. But because he was kicked off for not doing it, so it didn't matter whether the child did or did not take off the mask, he was getting off of that plane. You have more than a clear-cut avenue for legal recourse.
Summer, and so this is not the first or the last time that it's going to happen, and I don't want this to continue to happen.
Did you get your money back? There might be a refund processing, but the ticket...
So they didn't even get their money back. There might be a refund. Perhaps, a specialist might perhaps get in touch with you. Disgusting customers. It goes beyond customer service. It's beyond that scope. This is how egregious this incident was. I'm not sure if that captain has family. If he does, man, you want to grow a sense of self-reflection, and you want to grow it quick.
For Southwest was less than 5 times the amount that we had to spend on new tickets on a new airline.
And you never got to go see your grandmother,
right? Lost the day with my grandmother.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You haven't seen your grandmother?
Well, we saw my grandmother, but we missed out on a day and a half of our trip because of this.
Okay. Gosh, well, I'm so sorry. Caroline, thanks for coming on and telling your story.
Unbelievable. Despicable. Caroline, Scott, I hope you and your family start GoFundMe. I would certainly give it, what's the word am I thinking? Not airtime. I can't think of the word, but I would advertise it here on my channel. For my reasonably small audience, I would certainly want people to push back, as Maxine Waters likes to say, push back on them. Of course, I don't mean it in the same vein that she does. I mean that people need to start speaking up, because the cancel culture brigade are very loud. That's why they get listened to. The people who are all allegedly all for free speech, they are playing the game by the rules set by the cancel culture mob. You need to stop doing that. And I also notice people appealing to this mystical referee of the culture war. Stop doing that. Guess what? The mystical referee of the culture war is also a Democrat, is also a cancel culture mob member. So what are you appealing to them for? You need to start speaking out against it, even if you've got something to lose. I talk about, topics here, I speak out on them. This channel was once monetized. It's not anymore, it hasn't been for a while, and I won't get it back. Why? Because I chose to speak out on things. I could have been what Tim Pool calls a milquetoast fence sitter, and I could still have that monetization. But I chose to air my opinions as I see them, and I paid the price for that. I lost something. It was an achievement of mine. I felt like I'd achieved something when I got it, and I lost it. Something that was dear to me, an achievement that I was proud of. I lost it for standing up for my opinions. And people out there, you need to start standing up. Maybe you might lose something. I'm not saying you will, but you might do. It's because we're in a cancel culture environment. But if you just bury your head in the sand and keep it there, eventually you'll lose everything. So you really need to start speaking out. But anyway, look, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe here, either on YouTube or BitChute. If you are on YouTube, there's a notification bell down below. If you click on that, it should notify you when I upload, but who knows. Either way, share this video around on social media, your friends, the normies, and that will help this small channel hopefully get some traction again and help us get our message out there. But I thank you, my regular viewers, for taking the time to engage with me. I really do appreciate you more than you probably realise. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.